Welcome back
to another episode of Gentle Power.
We've lost track of the number.
Yeah.
But that's great.
Yeah, that's good. That means we've done more than we remember, which is great. And in one of our other recent episodes, we jumped right into negotiation stuff. I kind of like that.
I kind of like it.
Yeah, so let's try it again right now.
We want to keep testing it.
Yeah. So today the negotiations topic is around rescinded offers. We get this question so often when people are asking us about, hey, if we work with you, will we negotiate so hard that is the offer ever at risk? Or people are naturally scared of that because it's very understandable. It is high stakes. Yeah. You've probably been interviewing for jobs for a very long time, and when you get an offer, you don't want to lose it.
Yeah. I think the top two things people are scared of in a negotiation is, will the offer be rescinded, or will I damage the relationship with the company, the team, and all that? Cool. Let's dive right into it. So I can think of a few reasons why an offer gets rescinded.
I should briefly cover what a rescinded offer may sound like. Because I think people have an idea in their head of how an offer being rescinded is like. And a lot of times it's not what they think. So people think so let's say you get a verbal offer and then you start negotiating, which we don't recommend. You always want to wait until you get the written offer to start negotiating.
Look at my notes.
Yeah, but we have found that when people are exploring working with us and they tell us a situation, a lot of times they have started negotiating even before the written offer, which maybe we have covered this or we can cover this another time, but that does elevate the risk of an offer being rescinded for any number of reasons, which we can get into. But people think that an offer being rescinded is going to sound like the company or the recruiter calls you back and say, hey, candidate, I know that we had given you an offer, but we are going to be taking that offer back.
Yeah. Or they send an email with those words or something like that.
Yeah. And so people think that that's what a rescinded offer may be, but in reality, a lot of times a rescinded offer will unfold like this. So you get a verbal offer and there's good conversation, all that, and then the conversation moves to email. And for any number of reasons, if the company is then going to rescind the offer, what will likely happen is that you don't hear back from them for a few days. You shoot them an email and to check in. It's like, hey, just want to see where the offer's at and some of these other questions that I had. And maybe they don't respond to you right away. Another day goes by. You check in with them again. And then they either reach out to either make a call, but often it may happen in email where they say, hey, candidate, thank you so much for checking in about this. We've been working some things on our end, and there's a lot going on, but I did want to provide you an update because the team right now the company is going through some sort of budget reorganization, or we're kind of going through some reorgs. We essentially have to put this on pause.
Yeah, or we found another candidate that was a better fit.
Yeah, and so they'll communicate it in a very nice way, and they'll also have reasons as to why it's not going to be moving forward. But I just wanted to paint the picture as to how it can be communicated versus what people envision is the employer coming back and say, we're taking this offer back that we gave you.
Either way, you end up without the offer.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go over some reasons of why your offer gets rescinded, as well as how to avoid that. The number one obvious reason, well, actually, it might not be very obvious to some people, and we've had clients where this was not very obvious, is that you are rude. And it blows my mind how people don't know this. I think the reason some people don't realize this is because they think that if they're being very lowballed or underleveled in their title level and all that, and if they are a little rude, it shows that they have many options and they're so valuable in the market. They don't realize that when you're rude, that's such a red flag for a company and for a recruiter who is kind of positively gatekeeping the company. They want to choose the right people. And so it doesn't matter that you think you're so hot in the market. If you are rude, you could be disqualified just based on that.
Yeah, there have been a few leads or a few people who have been exploring working with us, and they've been taking a bit of time to make their decision, but then the interviews keep progressing, and then they have been giving me updates along the way whenever I check in with them. And it pains my heart to hear how some of the things that they've been doing without our guidance, because they're kind of continuing to move forward on their own. And there's this one person that comes to mind where she thought that she was very close to these offers, but then none of them have panned out.
Yeah.
But then she tells me how the conversations have unfolded, and she feels that she's getting lowballed. She used to be paid almost 2x more.
Yeah.
Again, it's a tough market. But when she got these offers, she felt that where she was being lowballed, she would communicate back in a pretty abrasive way and say something like, this doesn't work for me because I used to be paid a lot more than this, or would say things like that. But if we work together, what we would have recommended is, even if you get a lowball offer, you want to keep the tone and the vibes very positive, because there are always ways for you to negotiate that up. And there have been many cases where clients got lowball offers and we helped them get a final offer that was above the top of the range, get way, way more money, to a point where our clients were beyond happy with where they landed. So being rude it feels so obvious, but so important.
A lot of people's egos are wrapped up in their career, their job, their salary, their title, and all that. And it's been such a tough market with the layoffs and how competitive it's out there. And I of course, we completely empathize with how tough this is for people. But on the other hand, you just need to keep your eyes on the prize, which is, do you need a job? Let's maximize comp and title and all that. And you're not going to maximize it by being rude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People are thinking about their side of the thing. I used to make this much, or I used to have this title, but they're not thinking about, how do I get to the end goal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to play the game.
You got to play the game. The other piece is, well, this is very critical, which is negotiating at the verbal offer stage. And you touched on this at the beginning, where I think people get overly confident when they get a verbal offer, understandably, because the company, as they should, they are very nice throughout the process. Most companies are very nice throughout the process, and they show excitement about you. And when they extend you a verbal offer, you're like, okay, I'm the chosen one, I'm done. However, for many companies, and you can deduce this in this way, you are not the chosen one necessarily when you get a verbal offer, because when you ask for a written offer, they usually will not give it to you. And that should tell you that you are not the chosen candidate necessarily. Does that make sense?
Are you saying that multiple verbal offers have gone out?
Not necessarily, but you're still...
It's a conditional state of offer.
Exactly. It's still a conditional state. It's not a done deal. And this is also good practice, a good business sense to have. If a contract is not signed, it could fall through at any point until it's signed, and sometimes even after it's signed. So think of your employment agreement as any other business contract. Unless it's signed, it's not done.
Yeah.
But a lot of people get overly confident, maybe because of all the compliments that the company gives them and all that. So what happens is, a lot of people, even some of our clients, when they come to us after the verbal offer, they start negotiating at the verbal offer as if they have it in the pocket. And sometimes if they negotiate very aggressively, again, our negotiations approach is very cordial, nice, professional. Need to remember that. A lot of people, I don't know, they saw it in movies, or I don't know where they're seeing these things, like hostage negotiators. They go very aggressive, not only in tonality and language, body language and all that, but it could even be the numbers you ask for. I had a client a long time ago. She said that she had a friend who was coaching her because her friend was a lot more senior.
I remember this.
Okay, it was a while ago. And her friend was a lot more senior, and she had negotiated aggressively a few years ago. And she's like, do it like this. I know what I'm talking about. And I think her offer either fell through, or the company was very turned off by her behavior, because her friend was saying, like, ask for this much, which was something like, I think 50% more than their offer, which...
And this is at the verbal offer stage.
At the verbal offer stage. I'm trying to remember what happened. Either the offer fell through or the company was extremely turned off. But I just want to say, working with us, you might end up making 50% more than your initial offer. Again, Well, yeah, our best one was 42% over the initial offer.
Yeah, I think we've gotten higher ones since.
Really, since then? Okay, we need to go look
Update
at that.
our metrics.
Yeah. You might end up there anyway, but you can just straight up ask for it up front.
Yeah.
Again, our approach is very gentle power, right? And my friend was also not the type of personality to do negotiations that way. And so she was having such a, what is that called? Dissonance or something? Like a cognitive dissonance, very torn on because her friend was a lot more senior. Who knows? Maybe it worked for her friend for some other reason, not because her friend asked aggressively, but despite her asking aggressively.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short,
don't negotiate.
Yeah, don't negotiate at the verbal offer. And of course, we said earlier, don't be rude. Another one that's along these lines is you're not showing enough excitement. So it's very important to show excitement for a company. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, well, what you want to keep in mind is from a negotiations perspective, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to give a company confidence that if they were to get to the written offer stage with you and they do all the work to back channel, get the team alignment, to have you be the chosen candidate, that there's a realistic chance that you're going to accept the role. And the best way to signal that is to show excitement, show enthusiasm. You really want to make them believe, hey, if we give this candidate a written offer, we have a real shot at closing them, filling the seat, and then we can also move on to the next. And so you always want to show excitement and enthusiasm. And at the end of the day, companies want to, and this goes back to the rude thing, companies want to hire people who will be excited to work there, people who will be pleasant coworkers. And so they're making a big bet on you by having you join as a full-time employee, because if it was the wrong move, it's probably a lot harder to get rid of you, right?
I think there's some numbers or studies that show one quote unquote wrong hire or toxic hire is worth 4 other hires.
Yeah. So especially when you're getting a verbal offer, and it basically always happens over a phone call. A key thing that the recruiter is looking out for is to gauge your excitement for the role, because this ties back into, well, if we actually move to the written offer stage, does it seem like that they're going to accept it? So they're trying to gauge your excitement and see how you respond to the numbers, how likely it seems that you're going to accept.
Yeah. So that's another reason. I have 2 more reasons. The other one is that they think they can't afford you. And so this is very closely tied to what we say again and again and again. Don't share your preferred salary. Don't share your preferred range. Don't share how much you make at your current or recent, any salary history. And on the last point, we've mentioned this many times, there are people in many large states in the U.S., it's illegal for companies to ask you about your salary history, which means there were guardian angels negotiation guardian angels who advocated for you and passed it into legislation for companies to not be able to ask you about your salary history. Do not disappoint them. Do not let them down. They're watching over you. I hope they're still alive, whoever did this. But if not, they're watching over you and they're face palming. I can't believe you shared your salary history willingly.
Use the gifts that were offered to you, right?
So do not share all of those numbers or any numbers pretty much ever. There are some edge cases we've talked about before. Maybe we can touch on that later or another time. But in general, don't share anything about anything. No numbers specifically. Even if you have another offer that's very exciting, even if it's a better offer, anything like that, because it could scare off this company that you're negotiating with. I assume that you want this offer, right? If you don't, then do whatever you want.
Yeah. Before we get to the next reason, circling back, because I just thought of something. I think this is tied to your first reason, where the verbal offer, people think that they already have it and it's in the bag. But you know that a verbal offer is conditional just in the language that recruiters use. So usually what they say is the team would like to extend you an offer on the verbal offer call.
It's
that
not a
doesn't
done
mean
deal.
that we have officially given you an offer that
Yeah.
we're not going to take away.
Yeah.
That, you know, what they're saying is
But even
the
if they
team wants
say we
you.
formally extend you an offer, where is it? If I don't have a document that I can sign in front of me,
Right.
then what do I have?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just your
A
your
verbal
word. Yeah.
commitment, right?
Yeah.
So that's just to remind you that when you're given a verbal offer, it's not in the bag.
Yeah.
There's still things you need to do to get to the written offer stage, which is a much harder commitment, and that's where we always recommend that people begin the negotiations.
Yeah. So I wanted to continue the thought process on why not to give numbers and how that can lead to an offer being rescinded. Basically, imagine if you are interviewing with a company and at any point throughout the process, you say, I made this much or I want this much. And the company, they'll think you will not be excited about the role.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you end up accepting something that is paying you less than what you wanted or less than what you made before. They don't want people who are coming in and are resentful from day one.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the risk of it. And then the other risk beyond the offer getting rescinded, maybe the offer doesn't get rescinded. They might not increase your offer if your numbers are far off from what they can afford. I've given this example before, but I love it so much. I'm going to give it again because it fits here in a different way. So we had a client who had an offer from a biotech startup, early stage, and from TikTok. Think about that client going to the biotech startup and telling them, and they wanted to do that. They wanted to tell the biotech startup. And I said, don't tell them. So imagine they go and they say, I have an offer from TikTok. Now, as we all probably know, TikTok pays absolute top of market. A biotech startup does not, and they will not compare to TikTok. They have no chance. It was an early stage startup. And they're not even, well, first it's a bit of like, we can't compete with that. We don't want you to start here and be resentful that you're not making double or triple at TikTok. So it's already a red flag to them that that's the option you're considering, let alone the mission. That's so different. But the other piece is, even if they want you still, they're not going to try as hard to win you over as if they don't know whom your other offer is from. So if they don't know, they're like, okay, let's just throw our entire budget at this person because they could be considering another biotech startup and we want to take them off the market, or we need to be competitive and all that. But if they know it's TikTok, they're like, well, we could offer another 10K increase as a gesture that we really want you. But a 50K, we will still not be as close to TikTok. So let's just try 10K, you know? So showing numbers, not only does it risk the offer, but even if it doesn't risk the offer, it risks you not getting the best offer. And then the final reason is, this one is a good one. A company might rescind the offer if they're caught red-handed and if you're dodging a bullet.
Yeah.
You want to talk about our client example?
Yeah, so we had a recent client, and of course we're going to keep this anonymized. All of our client work stays fully confidential.
Yeah.
So we'll talk more generally.
Yeah.
But
We change, when we tell these stories, we do change
we'll sometimes change
stuff.
gender
Yeah.
or even just
like company,
company industry.
if it's interchangeable,
Yeah.
like maybe the earlier company, I said TikTok, but it was actually like, I don't know, Snapchat or Instagram.
Yeah. So with this client, she was interviewing or had offers from two different companies. I'll say company A, company B. She really wanted, her first choice was company B.
Yeah.
She had already gotten the offer from company A, and then the company B offer came in later. And well, first of all, there are two lessons embedded in this. So she came to us and said, I got that offer from company B. I'm thinking of turning down company A and just declining their offer because let's just focus all our efforts on company B. And what we advised was, don't turn down company A.
Down.
You want to keep all of these things in play. You just never know how things will unfold.
Yes.
Right? And we start the negotiations with company B. And she had some very, very valid questions. This was a pre-IPO company.
Maybe series, I don't know, B or C.
It was like fairly advanced, yeah. And if it's pre-IPO, if it's a private company, then the share price and the value of the stock, it's not as clear as it would be out on the public market where you can just buy the stock. And so she had some very valid questions about the valuation of the company.
Yeah. They gave her the offer. The cash was clear. The equity was like, oh, here's, I don't know, 20,000 shares. And she's like, well, how much is this worth?
Yeah, is the share
like,
worth $10 a share or 1 cent a share? I don't know.
like, how much is this worth? because you're comparing it to your other offers or previous compensation and things like that. It's such a valid question. It's as if they give you a hidden number. And so it was such a fair question. And then, you know the details better.
Yeah, and she asked them these questions, and they said, oh, thanks for asking. We'll look into it and get back to you. And they weren't getting back to her. They were answering some of her other questions that weren't related to equity.
It's coming back to me, yeah. They were like, we'll get back to you. And then now she has another offer, right? So she's like checking in every day, which is fair, or every 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened?
Yeah, we then heard back from the client. And she told us, hey, I spoke to company B and they said that they are not moving forward with the offer. And we were pretty surprised because...
By the way, this was a verbal offer. She's already gotten the verbal offer.
Yeah, she already got
They're not moving forward to the written offer.
To the written offer, exactly. And we were surprised first because on our end and everything we advised, she had done everything right. She was very cordial, professional, showed a lot of enthusiasm.
And she was actually excited
and
about
she was
that
super
company.
excited about this company.
More than the other one.
But as we started digging into it and what we were realizing is the company was not being transparent with the information around the equity, and they were withholding information that would allow her to genuinely understand what the offer is worth.
Yeah, and I mean, I know some companies are sensitive around what they share with candidates and how that might leak or anything like that, but they could have at least said, we believe this is roughly this much money, right? Like even as simple as that. Like we think this is around 50K or something like that. But they didn't even say that.
Yeah, they continued to deflect on giving her information that would...
It's critical for her to make the decision.
To truly value, I have no idea if this component of this offer is worth 10K or 500K. And so by continuing to ask for that, the company was not sharing that. It revealed huge red flags. Why is a company refusing to share with potential new hires how much their comp is worth? And so in that case, she felt very relieved that she had dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
And coming back to the other lesson, she was so happy that she did not decline company A before things fully unfold with company B. You want to keep as many things in play because you never know how things will unfold.
I'm so glad she asked us because... Yeah.
Because we've sometimes had clients just move forward.
Sometimes who just do something and I'm like, oh, why didn't you ask us this?
And so she ultimately went with company A. We helped negotiate quite a strong increase to that offer. She was quite happy with it. We're glad how things ended up. And we also feel that she dodged a pretty big bullet with company B.
So this was a good outcome of like a company rescinding their offer where like you actually want this outcome. If they are shady, it's great if they rescind their offer. Yeah. So just to recap, there's a few reasons why a company rescinds their offer. One is you are rude and you might think you're a very unique talent unless you're one of those AI engineers that get paid $100 million at OpenAI or Meta. You cannot afford to be rude, except for those two people in the world. Everyone else needs to behave. The other is you negotiate aggressively or even not aggressively, but like a lot at the verbal offer stage. You want to negotiate at the written offer stage. You don't show enough excitement. You show too much leverage, too much of your hand. So you show your preferred salary or range or salary history. And so then they think they can't afford you, so that they don't even try. Or they'll think you'll be resentful if you accept an offer that's below what you shared. Mm-hmm. And finally, this one is a good one where you caught them red-handed. They were being shady. I think we can wrap up here.
Yep. Hope people got a lot out of this, and we will see you for the next episode of Gentle Power.